Welcome to In the Mix, the show that puts masonry in the spotlight, block by block, brick by brick. I'm your host, Adam Hutchinson, Executive Director, Professional Engineer, Industry Advocate, and believer in the power of resilient building design. Every week, I sit down with architects, engineers, contractors, and building owners to break down how masonry makes our communities stronger, safer, and more resilient. We're here to share stories, tackle the tough questions, and help you see what's possible when we build better together. Let's get in the mix. What if the future of masonry isn't just about better materials, but better relationships, smarter collaboration, and building structures designed to outlast generations? In this episode of In the Mix, I sit down with Jordan Krebs of Sunset Stone to talk about the evolving world of manufactured stone veneer, masonry relationships, and what it really means to build a long-term career in the construction industry. From the manufacturing process behind handcrafted stone veneer to the future of masonry in modern design build construction. Jordan shares his insights from both the sales side and the contractor side of the industry. The conversation explores everything from mortar technology and thermal mass to craftsmanship, workforce development, and why masonry continues to stand the test of time. Jordan and I also reflect on our shared history in Spokane and the importance of building relationships in the construction industry, and how masonry products continue to shape communities for generations to come. So welcome today to the In the Mix podcast. I'm here with Jordan Krebs with Sunset Stone. Sunset Stone is a manufactured stone veneer.
Out of Colorado.
Okay.
Yep, Castle Rock, just a little bit south of Colorado, in south of Denver is where the manufacturing facility is.
So is it all manufactured there, or is it manufactured throughout other places?
No, one manufacturing location, started in 1970. So long-standing business. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the relationship that Sunset has with the other manufacturers of veneer here in the Northwest.
So as far as a relationship, it's a competitive relationship.
Right.
I mean, like friendly, like most things. But our position is we're manufacturing a product that we want at a high quality, but we're a little bit smaller company, so a little bit more nimble.
Okay.
So that's kind of what would make us a little bit different than some of the other companies. I mean, it's got that smaller company feel. We're taking feedback from the contractors, looking at what colors should we be manufacturing, what shapes are in demand, things like that, and just trying to be in tune with the contractors and the designers, and more of a working relationship. Would say that's what I would say is a little bit unique with this company.
So tell me a little bit about the manufacturing process for a manufactured stone veneer.
So I'm still learning about that kind of stuff. But what was interesting to me is it's a process that's been around for a long time. So like my background was dry cast concrete or dry mix, things like that, you know, your mortars and whatnot. It's a wet cast concrete process. So they've got a batching system. Another thing that's unique is with this product coming out of Denver there, they have expanded shale for their lightweight aggregate. So,
Not the pumice that we normally have here in the Northwest.
Yeah, so a little bit different lightweight aggregate, which if a lot of manufacturers had access to shale, I think you would see a lot more use of it, but it's only available in certain regions around the country. It's a strong lightweight aggregate, so you've got expanded shale in your mix. We're doing wet cast concrete. And then a lot of the color work is actually done by hand because you're trying to replicate stone. You don't want the same thing coming out every time unless you're doing more of like a tone-on-tone, monochromatic type blend. But the color is actually applied by hand, and that's what gives you the variation of the stone, which was very interesting to me.
I think that's probably the most interesting part about it is that this is a manufactured product, but there's still that aspect that we're bringing people in to work to use their artistic abilities to change how each of these stones look.
Yeah. One, it brings some other elements into it. You wouldn't think about it, but the same guy that's doing the color on, like, say, a flat, that same color needs to be applied in a very similar fashion to your corners. If your corners are going to match and things like that, you have that human element into it. But it's interesting. I mean, when they talk about like handcrafted, I mean, it actually is handcrafted.
So tell me a little bit more about Jordan. What does Jordan like to do on his free time? How did you come into the masonry industry? Things like that.
So free time first. So I'm a dad like you, so that's going to chew up the bulk of your time right
so
there.
Much time.
Sole provider for my family. I don't know if you're in the same boat there, but that comes with a little
Similar,
bit,
yeah.
that comes with a little bit different responsibility as well. But if I'm not taking care of my family, golf is the big thing that I love to do with my free time. And then I'm also on a little bit of acreage as well. So you're going to spend a lot of time taking care of the property. We got a lot of big trees on the property. So every windstorm that comes through, you're cleaning up and
So much cleanup.
Yeah. And we got blackberries where we're at. So
same at my place.
Blackberry management takes quite a bit of time.
Have you seen those the brush blades?
Oh yeah, I've got one.
Oh man, those go through blackberries like nothing. I was hesitant at first because I was like, it's just a big blade on there, and it's just gonna make a mess or something. And then I'm like, oh, it's just a mulcher.
Yeah,
it works
pretty much.
so good. Right?
Yeah, that was money well spent.
Yeah.
And then let's see. So history, like how did I get into the industry?
Yeah, how did you get into
that?
the industry? Did your family have you get into the industry? What's your relationship to Kevin? And did that impact your decision to go into the dry cast side or even now wet cast or masonry side altogether?
Definitely. I never was pushed to be in the masonry industry or anything like that, but growing up I was always around it. My grandfather was on the production side, so he worked for Layrite Products back in the day in Spokane.
They're not around anymore.
Yeah, but that was kind of the start of it. So Hank Krebs was a production manager there for a long time. And then my dad got into it at a pretty young age, just driving forklift and whatnot. I think Kevin got involved when he was pretty young as well. And when I was growing up, my dad put a basketball court in and it was concrete pavers, Right. So we had keystone retaining walls around the property and things like that. My dad always wanted to build with brick. When he finally built his own house, about the time I was graduating high school, he put brick on the house and had a retired mason help him out. My grandfather had brick on his house,
Of course.
And then Kevin being involved with the masonry promotion group, I was just kind of always in the family a little bit.
Yeah.
But I never felt pressure to I had to do it. Just something where as you got into it, you started to get to know the customers and you start to build those friendships and whatnot. And it was really something that I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
And this is definitely, it's a relationship business. I mean,
absolutely,
that's how it works. But the neat thing is a lot of the people that were kind of coming up through some of the businesses where maybe their father started the business or maybe their grandfather started the business. We were in this similar age group and whatnot. And we kind of came up together, figuring things out and learning from the people that came before us. You learn some stuff from your employer, but a lot of it is actually, it comes from the people that you work with, or sometimes it's other suppliers that are willing to teach you things. But a lot of that comes from the people that have been doing it a long time, and that's where you really get your information.
Well, and you and I are kind of in the same age range where our classmates or our professional aged people that are around the same age as us are coming into that layer in their businesses where they're taking ownership roles. Right? They're making big decisions. They're taking lead design decisions. It's nice to have those relationships already built just based on the history of working with them over the years, right? They might have been coming to us with questions back in the day. Now they're the ones saying, hey, I want to use this product because I have this relationship with you.
Yeah.
So relationships are definitely important on both the promotion side, the sales side, and in business in general, right? So what do you do right now with Sunset that allows you to continue to do that?
It allowed me to get back to some of the things that I liked doing when I used to live over in Spokane. So now I'm on the west side of the state now. And for a lot of my career on this side of the state, I was focusing more on the hardscape side of things, concrete pavers and retaining walls, things like that. And now that I've been able to join Sunset Stone, I'm able to go back to working on masonry again like I used to do when I was on the east side of the state. So it's kind of just going back to your roots a little bit. Been really nice to be able to work with some of the contractors that I knew in the past and whatnot, and just get back into the masonry industry. I'm 2 months in with Sunset Stone, still learning quite a bit, because in my past, focused a lot on type N, type S mortar, a little bit of polymer modified, but it wasn't a huge thing not that long ago.
No, just 3 years ago, it wasn't even in our code that it was required. So that makes sense,
Yeah, so that's the biggest challenge, is getting up to speed with the advancements in the industry. Obviously, we don't want stone veneer coming off buildings and things like that. And what can we do as manufacturers, or if we're recommending a product, what are the products that are going to allow this to be a long-standing, maintenance-free option on the exterior of a building?
So let's talk about mortars a little bit, because that's something that you know pretty well about. So I always tell people type S is our structural mortar. Okay, if it's a load-bearing wall or if it's a seismic wall here in the Northwest, I say type S because it has adequate strength and somewhat adequate bond.
And then I say N is my veneer mortar.
Mm-hmm.
But then that doesn't really apply to sunset stone, right? Because that's an adhered product. So we have to use like a polymer modified or a high performance mortar where the shear strength or bond strength of that mortar is significantly higher than a Type S traditional mortar.
Yeah, I mean, my basic understanding of it is masons would always pick a Type N if it was allowed. It was a little bit easier to work with, a little bit stickier, a little bit easier to clean up. If they needed a little bit higher strength, they would go Type S. And there were some masons that just preferred Type S in general. They would just use it. It was like their general purpose mortar. And then the polymer modified was pretty much popping up when it was in the specifications of a commercial job.
Right.
And worked great, but yeah, clean up your tools a little bit quicker, a little bit harder to work with. So nobody was kind of choosing to have that be like if they're doing a residential job back in the day, it wasn't their first choice for the most part.
Right.
But you also ran into a lot of masons that were kind of making a hybrid where, you know, they'd use like a moose milk, your bonder fortifier, concrete glue type stuff. And they were amping up the performance of their mortar. They were kind of making a hybrid on the fly, and everybody kind of had their own take on what the right mortar was.
Yeah, I actually just had a question come in last month where I'd never heard of the word moose milk before. And that was really cool. It's a bonding agent for concrete.
Yeah.
But you can mix maybe 2 cups of moose milk with a bag of Type S mortar, and it makes a similar performance as a polymer modified mortar.
Yeah. As far as what the exact makeup of it is, I don't know, but it looks like if you diluted Elmer's glue down. I mean, that's what it looks
really
like.
does look like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I mean, it makes sense, but I mean, you get some of these masons who have been working with masonry for 50 years and they don't want to change what they've used, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things of if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of deal.
Right.
I mean, some masons were even amping up cement content and things like that. There still is a small percentage of masons, they will make up their own mix from the sand, the lime, cement, and they will do it old school. But that is something that is getting rarer.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something to do with how we're promoting mortars as well, too, right? Where I can promote a Type S. It's a performance-based spec where you're going to make a mix as a manufacturer that meets that spec, right? However you get to that blend that meets that performance spec, fine. But if I'm going to say, hey, mix whatever the mix design is for a Type S mortar by proportion, how do I check that as an engineer, right?
Correct. Yeah.
It's a little bit harder to meet those quality assurance, quality control.
The concern always was the guy that's mixing it, does he lose track of how many shovels of this, how many shovels of that?
Right.
Or even if that guy is spot on, is the sand pile dry? Is the sand pile wet? What's the temperature? Things like that. It's basically trying to control variables. That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's also a liability thing too. I mean, if you are buying a pre-blended product and you're using the right potable water and the right amount of water and mixing it properly and whatnot, you have the backing of a company if something goes haywire, if you checked all the boxes. So you have a little bit of protection as far as the product that you're using.
I think another thing that we don't talk about very much with mortars is the natural variation between bag to bag. And sometimes if you were to just do by proportions, that variation in color might be all over the place.
With color pigmentation and percentage and color load and everything else. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the technology just keeps getting better and better as far as consistency and things like that. I mean, it's getting to the point now where when a company is mixing up a batch of whatever, I mean, sometimes there's even records in the system as far as how much of this sand and this and that were dumped into it. Where back in the day, it was a little bit less of an exact science. If something didn't get in there, maybe it was a human add where somebody actually had to dump it in into the mixing process or something like that. But more and more things are getting tracked. So if there is an issue, they can actually go back and look at batching and things like that.
Batching overall, I think that's probably one of the next things that I need to have here on the podcast because I know a lot about it, but it's still one of those topics that I think having an expert talk about is going to help so much, right? Because we can talk about batching and meeting the mix designs as needed, but the science that goes into it is just over my head, right? And I'm an engineer. Right. Now, let's switch topics a little bit and talk about what your sales experience has been here in the Northwest.
So my sales experience, it's sales, but it's not. It's basically caring about what you do and trying to give good advice when somebody's coming to you and they're looking for a product, being upfront with what your product is good at, what it's not good at, knowing what your competitors do, just having a well-rounded knowledge and trying to be more of an asset. Obviously, we have products that we have to sell. I mean, that is our job. It's our job to sell product. But having a little bit more of a long-term view where you're looking to work on this project, but you're also more interested on working on the next project. It could be 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And just having a long-term view where you want to be part of the team that helps build a project, or at the very least, give them what they need so that project is a success.
When you're building those relationships, obviously there's these aspects of, one, you're building the relationship for a long-term development plan. Two, you don't want to be too pushy, right? To try and sell the product. You want to work with the people to understand what their needs are, right? Mm-hmm. I gave a presentation at the Block Promoters Conference in February or earlier this year, and they had me give a presentation on alternate design delivery methods. What have you worked with on the design delivery side? Design build, progressive design build?
So design build is something, it's been growing. When I was still on the other side of the state, it was something that was starting to pop up a little bit more because my basic understanding of design build is it's budget first.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, if you're a building owner, if you've got a fixed budget, you don't want them to come to you with this big, beautiful building that costs more than you're willing to spend. The challenge there from like a salesman perspective is sometimes it changes who your point of contact is. You need to have more engagement with general contractors, where back in the day, it seemed like it was a little bit more exclusively architect focused. Well, now you need to be a little bit more well-rounded and you have to have a bigger network because the basis of design, that channel might go more through a general than an architect, at least initially.
I think that's something that the Masonry Industry Promotion Group over in Spokane did a really good job at with the picking of Lucas Witkowski as their new executive director, because his relationships with the generals already solid, right? Mm-hmm. He worked with AGC for a while, was their vice president or something like that, or marketing. Dude's been everywhere, right? I think that's something that I need to work on more over here. And I hope that this podcast is one of those ways that I can do it, where I can just get them in here to talk about projects that they have or that are upcoming that are exciting, or just the whole purpose or their whole process of being a general contractor, right? Mm-hmm. How do you get those design build projects to be masonry rather than something that they can just self-perform, right? I think that's going to be one of the hardest challenges that we have as an industry moving forward, because if I was just a business person looking at it, I'd say, well, I can have my guys do maybe the concrete and the wood, all self-perform it, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I?
I mean, this is a very biased take, but I just think masonry building looks better.
Obviously.
Just on aesthetics alone.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a better looking building. Obviously, tilt up is something that's grown a ton, and it's something that can obviously be self-performed, but I don't know if anybody would say that's a better looking building than a masonry building.
Right. And I think a lot of people worry that masonry is a slower product to put up.
I mean, there's definitely a little bit of that, but I think what some companies have realized, like grocery chains and things like that, is while a masonry wall is going up on the exterior of the building, the other trades can be working as well.
Right.
So yeah, the wall system is going to be a little bit slower going up, but you can have other trades on the job site at the same time, where if you have a system that they've got to pour a massive wall on the ground, obviously nobody can be working there while they're doing that. So I think it depends. If you take advantage of having the plumbers and the electricians and everybody else doing whatever below grade and everything they need to do inside the building, I think the difference isn't as big as you might think.
Right. I think the one thing that we overlook or don't think about very much is that you've got this lead time with the other systems, right? Where something is getting manufactured offsite, or maybe it's manufactured on-site with the tilt-up panels. Our product is pre-manufactured, whether it's block, whether it's manufactured stone veneer, whether it's brick, all of that's going to be manufactured offsite and then shipped to your job site. So it's ready to go together. I think if you consider just the time from when you get to the job site to when the wall is complete, it's actually about the same time for a masonry wall to go up compared to a tilt-up wall. So I think there's some scheduling that you can take advantage of for sure, with underground utilities, interior slab not needing to be in place by the time you put up the masonry. your building, you can dry in pretty much a lot quicker when you just get your walls up, and now you can lay your roof trusses and put a roof on it, and you can bring in the concrete later even. I know they don't like to do that a lot of places, but if you have like a drive-in bay door or portion of your CME wall that you can leave out for all purposes, you could just drive right through.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm just going to die on the hill that the building looks better with masonry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look at this one. This is a face brick. It's just thin brick, adhered veneer. It's a really easy, simple system. It has some depth to it. A manufactured stone like Sunset, you've got some depth to your product too, right?
Yeah, well, there's definitely a range of texture. We're working on modern profiles. You can have more rustic profiles, but thin brick is a thing that is still very popular as well. I mean, your manufactured stone companies are also manufacturing thin brick as well.
Okay.
If you're doing new home construction, things like that, if there's doing a wainscot or something like that, a lot of times a thin veneer product makes a lot more sense, whether it's a brick look or a stone look. They're not going to do a ton of full depth veneer on your basic housing development or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, making your foundations that much wider isn't very practical, right?
But I will say, like, if you are doing a custom home, if you can do a little bit more masonry, those homes really do make a difference. I mean, they really do pop.
They really do. Even just like the supermarkets where it's not just the concrete masonry, it's not just the brick, but then they're integrating manufactured stone veneers along the entryways or next to windows or under the windows, or in some way it just brings a pop to it where, yes, this is a natural product. This is a building that is built to last. It's built for a lifetime. Like, this building's going to be here as long as this, whatever, Super One or Walmart or whatever store you want, it's just going to be here, because what's going to tear it down?
Yeah. That's something that I always took pride in this industry, is the buildings that masonry is on are going to be there for a long time. Whether it's a school, it's going to be there. Sometimes we're shooting for 100 years on a school project or something like that. Anything that is built with long-lasting masonry is a long-lasting product. And then even when you get into the residential side of things, you want your houses to look different. You don't want it to seem cookie cutter as you look through that neighborhood. And I don't think it's a coincidence when you get into a nicer neighborhood. A lot of times there are masonry on those homes, and you've got different colors and textures and whatnot, and it helps break up that neighborhood.
Yeah. I remember in 2020, right before COVID started, there was a study that came out and said that for every $10,000 in masonry veneer around your entry and garage doors, paid back 15 to 20 grand in resale value.
Yeah. I mean, it just looks nice.
Yeah. And it's inviting. It's very comfortable. A lot of people think that masonry is cold. I think when you get into the MSV side, the thin brick, your masonry veneers even, it brings that comfort level to it where, hey, this is meant to be here. It also gives you some security, right? It feels like there's some rocks around a column where, hey, I'm not going to back my car into that, right? Where you don't want to get close to it with your vehicle, so you're going to protect it a little bit more, right? Whereas maybe vinyl, it's like, oh, darn, my car touched it.
Well, and the durability aspect of it, I think, is something that's great too. I mean, we had a hailstorm come through Spokane, and it punctured holes in vinyl siding.
Absolutely.
The durability of masonry, I think, is something that you got to think about. Obviously, the upfront cost is always going to be a little bit more than some of the other options that are out there. But the life cycle of masonry is always a great return.
So let's talk about life cycle a little bit too, because that's a topic that architects are talking about quite a bit. When we think about energy usage as well, a lot of people think that masonry is cold. But then during the summer, everybody says, oh, the masonry is too hot. Well, which is it? Well, I think it's the thermal mass is what's thrown everybody off, right? It feels cold, even though if it was our temperature, our body temperature, then that would be considered a hot wall, right? Where anything less than our body temperature feels cold. Well, if I want my wall to stay cool because I want my indoor air temperature to be 68 or 70 degrees, whatever it wants to be, I want that wall to be cold, right? I don't want it to feel warm. So we do get a little bit of a bad rap from feeling cold, whereas your wood finishes or other materials might feel soft, if you will.
I mean, hopefully the Masonry Checkoff program helps with this, because I think part of this is education and awareness and whatnot. But my understanding is basically a masonry wall is like a thermal battery. You know,
Absolutely.
It's going to absorb heat, hold heat. It's going to be slower to allow temperatures to transfer through it. If you were just measuring on an R value, I mean, this is something that where you probably could teach me a little bit something on this, but as far as the R value that's attached to it, I don't know how great that is, but I've been in plenty of masonry buildings that are very comfortable on the inside. And everything I've always read is it's about that
thermal mass,
thermal
and the time
mass.
lag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't pull it off my head right now, but the U factor for a masonry wall is an integral insulated CMU wall is a 0.223. I don't know, whatever that comes up to be.
Yeah.
It's like a 9.5.
Yeah. As just a number, it's not incredibly impressive.
It's not, it's not impressive, right? But thinking about the required frame wall, it's a 0.056 for our climate zone here in Seattle. That's hard to get to with a thermal wall. And just in general, I mean, tilt-up's not going to get there. Precast sandwich panels will probably get there. Integral insulated CMU walls are trying to get there. I think you get to the high RH or the comfort block or omni block or some of these other kind of blocks that are pre-insulated claim to get there. And I think that's what we're going to have to see here in the future because the energy code is changing. It's getting more strict. But what we forget to look at a lot of time is the life cycle of the building. How much money are we going to spend up front to insulate the inside of these walls and repair and replace that drywall and insulation after a hazard or after just durability issues?
I think the long-term view is important there because what does it cost when you bulldoze that building? If you bulldoze that building in 50 years, how much resources did you just take to the landfill?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth looking at. I mean, if you have a building that's going to be there for a while, what's that worth? Whether you want to look at it energy or how much stuff is going to the dump or however you want to look at it, you're saving a lot when that building stays up. And can that building even be remodeled with a structural shell that could be remodeled again? And maybe that building doesn't even have to come down.
I think about that a lot when I think about Washington Power and Water over in Spokane. It's a multi-width brick project. It's been there for over 100 years. They're going to be doing a renovation here shortly, I'm assuming. They have a lot of tape around it, and you can tell that something's going on. But those old brick buildings, I mean, yes, they're unreinforced masonry. They're a hazard here in Seattle where we have higher earthquakes. But we can reinforce those. We can help fix those. Rather than tearing down and replacing, or rip out and replace is what a lot of people call it. The longevity and the history in those buildings is something that we have to preserve, right? And some of those buildings are well over 100 years old, where they're still standing. Maybe they need to be repointed. Maybe they need a little bit of maintenance on them. But overall, those buildings are still, they're built to last, right? So how do we convince architects and engineers that masonry is not just a secondary product? It's a showcasing product. It's something that we should spec on every project.
I mean, personally, I think going over to Europe and seeing some of the old buildings over there, when you look at some of those buildings, I mean, they're art. They were focal points of the entire town. Absolutely beautiful buildings that people to this day still love to go over and take a look at. I think that can't be undersold. You want to build something that's beautiful and that people enjoy looking at for generations. A lot of weight should be put behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we look at some of those old European buildings, Notre Dame, the old Gothic cathedrals, the craftsmanship that went into those, it's a dying breed. Have you ever heard about the Stone Masons Guild in Tenino?
No, I have not. You have to educate me on this.
Oh man, this is so cool. So Tenino is it's kind of an interesting community. Their name comes from their local area code, which used to be T90 or 1090 is what a lot of people call it now. They are having a resurgence where they had a whole bunch of stonemasons already there. Their whole main street is all old masonry, stonemasonry, either limestone or sandstone. And then they have a whole bunch of brick now as well. But almost every building downtown in Tenino is masonry. So these older guys were saying, hey, we've got all these buildings. They all need to be renovated. Our backs can't do it anymore. Let's try to educate the next generation. So they put together a Stonemasons Guild.
Neat.
And so they do educational events. They do a little crafts fair every spring or early summer. But they also work with the school to make sure that they have a program to learn how to work with tools to shape stone.
Yeah. I mean, that's really neat. I mean, you're hitting on something that is a big challenge for the industry right now is how does the torch get passed? How do we have younger guys and gals that want to get into the industry and be a stonemason or something like that? I mean, the electrical unions and the plumbing unions and whatnot, I mean, they're not immune to this where they're looking for younger talent too. But the masonry industry specifically needs a lot of young blood to come into the industry. I mean, it's not uncommon if you look at the guys that are on the scaffolding and
they're older than you and I are.
Me.
Right.
And at some point, there has to be kind of a resurgence and a desire to start as a hod carrier and hack brick and block. And
it's a hard sell.
Yeah, it is tough work, but there's a lot of guys that have provided for their families with those skills as well. And I think that's something that we've got to broadcast to the younger generation as much as possible. This is a viable way to provide for your family.
ICPI had a program there for a while where they actually were promoting the ability to go out, and I think they had a graphic where they showed like, here's a lawyer's career path and here is a high schooler that's going out and doing landscape architecture or landscaping just in general, putting down pavers. It's like, okay, at 18, both of them graduate high school, zero debt. Great. By 19, the lawyer has $100,000 in debt. The guy who wants to work with his hands, work outside as a landscaper, he's made 50 grand. Second year, you got another 100 grand in debt for the lawyer. And they're not even done with pre-law, right? You got the contractor where now he's got one or two people working with him that he's making $300,000 a year, or the company is. And by year 4, you got your lawyer that's just graduating his undergrad, ready to go to law school. It's already $400,000 or $300,000 in debt or whatever, right? And you got the contractor who has a house now. And it just follows them all the way through. And by year 20, contractor is not working anymore. He's got people working underneath him. He's doing the business side, or he's not working with his hands anymore. He's not killing his back anymore. But his business is doing well. He's got a crew underneath him that are all up and coming themselves that will eventually go and start their own businesses. And it's a kind of this perpetual motion machine, if you will, on the contracting side. Meanwhile, the lawyer has finally got his partnership name maybe on the plaque at his law firm and still has all of that debt from school because he didn't make enough in that last 10, 15 years to pay it off because of interest rates.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best things that I really love about the trades is you get paid to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's people begging you to come work. They want you there. They want you to do well, and they will pay you while they teach you.
Right.
And, you know, one of the best advice I could ever give a younger guy is keep your debt under control and, you know, live within your means, be wise with your money. Well, if you're getting paid to learn, that's going to be a lot easier on your finances.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of those things where I took the other route. I went to school and did go into debt a little bit there, but I think it made sense for my kind of mind and where I wanted to go with the industry or engineering in general. But that's one of those professions that's required to have a license, right? Or required to have that education. Meanwhile, with masonry, it's not that you're not going to school. It's that you're going to school that you're being paid to work and to learn at the same time. I think Lowell said it in one of the previous podcasts that it's 160 hours of required learning a year. You only got 80 hours per year without vacation time to work. That's a large chunk of your time. That's 5%, right? Or somewhere in there. Or, well, 200 would be 10%, right? So, yeah, that's 7.5%, 8% of your time dedicated to learning your craft. And if we spent all of that time learning our crafts anyways, I mean, how much better would we be at what we want to do?
Yeah, and if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, you're highly motivated, you want to chase higher income and things like that, having skills in the trades and whatnot doesn't stop you at all from running your business at some point. If anything, it might open up more doors for you as well. It's something where there's just natural stepping stones. If you have big aspirations, you can do a lot in the construction industry, starting with a guy basically at the bottom, and it can grow and grow as big as you want it to be.
Right. Or you could just be happy laying brick and block. Away you go, right? Yeah. Or carrying hod. Some people like to do that. I don't know. A little bit less responsibility, a little bit ease of work, if you will, right? No responsibilities other than making sure that the mortar's mixed the right way and your mason's happy.
Yeah.
Some people get stuck there.
I mean, the rumor is like with a hod carrier, it's like one guy is going to say your mud's too wet. You know, the next guy's going to say it's too dry. You know?
You got to figure out what each mason likes, right?
Yeah. I don't blame guys for moving up to that position because you probably get beat up quite a bit.
It's kind of like rookies, right? You're getting hazed a little bit there. But I think overall, the masonry industry is probably one of the most empathetic industries that I've worked with, where everybody wants you to succeed. Your boss wants you to succeed. They want you to move up. They want you to get to that layer where you are a bricklayer. Maybe they don't want you to go so far as you go and start your own business. They like to stay competitive a little bit, but they want you to become proficient and masterful at your job, right? And I think that's one of the best things about masonry.
No, I mean, even as a sales guy, I mean, obviously sales guys, they've got a certain negative connotation, but the contractors that I've worked with were always very helpful. And if I asked a question on something, they were more than happy to teach me about this or that, or show me something on a set of plans or whatnot. I mean, it was a very welcoming industry and definitely helped me along my journey to know what I know now. But I mean, obviously there's going to be jokes like your material is always too expensive and things like that. But there is a lot of camaraderie in the industry.
I really like that about this industry, where even just last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, where we had the Masonry Awards program over in Spokane, highlighting and showcasing these masonry projects. That's so cool. And it's not like they're just masonry projects overall. They're mixing materials on the facades. They're using stone with brick, with block. They're using metal panel and wood siding or glue-lams inside, right? But overall, you see these buildings that are being showcased that are now 100-year buildings because of the materials that they're choosing on the outside.
They also are really bringing some beauty to the town too. You know, they're buildings that everybody involved, they should be proud of what they built, you know?
Absolutely. I think one of them that I was so sad that didn't win was Skyline Elementary School. It is this beautiful block project that I think the description kind of messed it up a little bit. It should have only been in the beauty of block kind of competition, where it used half-high units. Mm-hmm. So it made it look like brick, but it was definitely a concrete product. I was like, I don't know if they actually got that one in the right category. But One Spokane Stadium, is that what they called it? Or One Stadium Spokane?
Yeah, the soccer multi-use stadium downtown.
Yeah, that one won the best block project. And I think that worked great. That was a great project.
Yeah, another thing I noticed about that particular project is that part of downtown used to be a little rough.
Yeah.
And it really reshaped that area. It just feels a lot cleaner. It really kind of revitalized that area. I know that's a buzzword that gets thrown around, but it really does feel like a completely different part of town when you walk around that now.
Well, between that and the podium in Spokane, I mean, that whole area is just an extension of downtown now, where before it was like, okay, let's stay south of the river. We don't need to go on the north side of the river. And when you did, it's like, okay, do you really need help over there? It was kind of a weird feeling, right? Whereas now it's like, oh man, I can go over to Kendall Yards, get some ice cream, go over there and have some good dinner. It's a nice, comfortable spot to walk around on the Centennial Trail. Like everything just feels so vibrant and bright over there now compared to what it used to feel like. And I think that's one of the best aspects that we have going for us from the masonry industry overall, is that we're in a position now to build with these products for the next 100 years. Right? We're trying to make the growth of masonry take off a lot more, either with sales or, on my side, promotion, code advocacy, technical education, technical responses. I feel like the masonry industry overall is in a good spot where we have the resources available now, either with checkoff or with the local associations, with companies spending a little bit more time and effort on their salesmen, their salespeople, and just bringing up that next generation of people. Whereas maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we kind of had not necessarily a die-off, but a lot of people retiring, and a lot of that knowledge is just gone, right? So part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast is actually to gather those people in and get that knowledge out of them before they leave, which is one of those either transfers of knowledge or perpetual knowledge management, if you will, that I hope that this podcast does a good job in. Jordan, thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, and that's the In the Mix podcast. Well, thank you.
Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of In the Mix, where we put masonry in the spotlight, block by block, brick by brick. A big thanks to our guest, Jordan Krebs of Sunset Stone, for sharing their time and insights with us. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor. Click that follow button, leave a quick review, and share it with someone who cares about building smarter and stronger. You can connect with me, Adam Hutchinson, on LinkedIn, and find bonus content from today's episode at masonrymix.com. In the Mix is produced by Espresso Podcasts and hosted by yours truly, Adam Hutchinson. You can find the podcast wherever podcasts are found. Hosting of the podcast is made possible by the Northwest Masonry Institute. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay curious, stay connected, and keep building strong. See you right here next week in the Mix.